Hi all, welcome to this Freiburg FIFA 21 team predictions video. Now the big elephant in the room is Schmid. Yes, I am fully aware he's now at Benfica. This was obviously prepared before all of this happened, so it is what it is and we just get on with it regardless. But as he use his rough prediction as a guide when he joins to Benfica. So let's get into this. If you smash links, all would be much appreciated. Sub to the channel if you are new. Follow me on Twitter at G is a Legend. All the links are down below for posting the channel and social media links as always. Comment down below who you think will get an upgrade or downgrade at Freiburg. I think the biggest problem is with the team, despite how impressive they were last season, it's a couple of their individual players are no longer part of the team, and like they finished 8th. But they may struggle to get a decent amount of upgrades, as it were. But I could be wrong, and we'll try and hard this with it and see where it goes from there. So Flecker, obviously at the moment looks like the number one goalie because Schwallow has transferred from Freiburg. So that makes things a little bit tricky. As I said, from a goalkeeping view, Flecken, even get my pronunciation right, I think will just stay as he is at the moment because you've not really got enough to kind of work from to kind of justify an upgrade or downgrade or any of that kind of nature. So take it as it is and work with him from there. Koch, the centre back, is going from a silver to a gold and a position change from CDM to centre back. Looks like he's been playing quite a bit of centre back from what I've read, and that will help his cause. And I think he could be a rare potentially as well to factor in. Helps out the defensive options immensely. From a midfield point of view, it makes things a little bit tricky. If he's a CDM, no, I will not be surprised, but we'll see how it happens. Gunter, an upgrade for him from a 75 to a 77. Fair play and well deserved. Very consistent season, could even go up to a 78, but as I said, at least 2 for now. Heintz is one of the players that could stay the same, but realistically should go up at least one. And it might even just be a defensive and physical increase. You never know. Depends how they want to go about it, but that's the way we are thinking with him. Schmid going up quite a bit. He is probably one of the players that's going to see the biggest increases, going from a 75 to a 78. Fair play to him, proving quite impressive this season for them at right back. Bagged himself in form as well, which will help his cause. Midfield, starting off with Haberer, is one of the few that will probably stay the same unless I've done my research wrong. He may go up 1, but as I said, I'm keeping him as he is. I'm not convinced enough to give him an upgrade or a downgrade or anything of that matter. Hofer going from 72 to a 75, very impressive season for what the stats would suggest. It's quite an upgrade, so worth keeping in mind. It may not necessarily happen. Grifo, I was on the fence of potential upgrading 1, but I've kept him as he is and just went with it from there. Obviously Schmid got the transfer to Benfica at the weekend and is an upgrade of at least 2, potentially 3. He may go higher just because of this transfer to Benfica. They might be like, oh, we'll do 80 rated. He did get a decent amount of goals. There was a debate of maybe why was he not considered for a team of the season, because of it was between him and Niederlechner for quite a few folk. I'm sure I had him either in my predictions or was on the cusp of it. But Schmid, definitely a very good season for him. Petersen, as usual, always consistent, always impressive. Doesn't always really get the credit that he sometimes deserves for football. But we've upgraded him up to an 80, and I think this definitely is deserved in my opinion, but of course you never know what happens. But obviously a big part of why they finished 8th this season. On to Holler, up 3 from 4 even, 72 to a 76. I was So a healthy upgrade for him. So, and he had a very impressive season, which justifies his upgrade. On to the subs and reserves. Quite a lot of silvers in this pile to kind of get your teeth into, and this is when things start to get a little bit interesting. Fida, we keep as he is, he's not really done enough to kind of convince us, and as we've said, both goalies didn't really get much game time or anything other than Schwallow. So that's kind of where it makes things a little bit tricky, as I said. Reinhardt keeping as he is, didn't really play enough to convince me of an upgrade or a downgrade, so I thought realistically keeping him as he is seemed most logical. Abrashi, same rules apply, likely to stay around a silver 71 midfielder. I hope I pronounced this right, Schlotterbeck, he was on loan I believe to Paderborn, if I've got my teams right, and probably stay as he is solely because Paderborn got relegated, so I don't see him going up or down, but he did get, I think, a bit decent game time, but as I say, I'm not convinced enough to kind of justify upgrades, especially if you got relegated with the team. Gulda just kept as he is, probably done just enough maybe to stay as a gold 75. You kind of need him to stay a gold 75 if I'm honest, especially if Koch is a centre back. You can need that for like a CDM purpose, if depending on how they set the midfield up. Itur staying as he is, not convinced, as I said, for him to get an upgrade or a downgrade. Then on to Jrager, another player that's likely to stay as he is, kind of joining the trend. The thing was, I noticed with a lot of like the subs and reserves, a lot of them weren't really getting much game time, or if they were, it was mainly sub appearances. That was where the trend was. That's kind of like how Salai, no upgrade on him, or he keeps as it. But 1 gold, 2 silver that is going down potentially is Won Chang Hon, going from a 75 to a 74, just game time and injuries for him, big factor. Could even go down 2 actually. You kind of don't want it to happen, but I'm afraid it probably will. So you're going to end up with a starting 11 being constantly used for the League SBCs. Borrell, Terezino and France all respectively staying as they are as well. Nothing really convincing me to justify any sort of upgrade or any sort of downgrades on them. It's a team that's just, it's a bit tricky to kind of work with and kind of not necessarily justify like things, but despite finishing 8th, the only way I can see some players in the subs and reserves being given an upgrade is due to the team performance, not because of the individual player doing well. The team itself has done well in kind of settling back into the Bundesliga and establishing a bit of a foothold, and obviously maybe their next step is trying to push back into Europe again, because they were a decent force. I remember when Papis Cisse was up front for them many years ago. Remember his special cards back in the day. But for me, Freiburg, obviously their main area of focus is getting a new goalie in and establishing there, and kind of just improving the squad depth, because I feel that starting 11, while it's good, obviously without Waldschmidt, the players looking at the bench and reserves was having a number of, just a lack of like game time, lack of contributions, lack of everything really. So you're trying to say to yourself, how do they kind of, they don't want to say to themselves, oh we finished 8th and then potentially this season is where they suddenly find themselves in that relegation battle. They don't want to be in that situation. They want to kind of be trying to get into Europe. That's where they'd like to be. But as I said, we'll see what happens with Freiburg. As I said, if you know of any, if we've got any transfer discussions going on as well, it'd be awesome to know. But as I said, this could potentially be an expensive SBC to do, just because of the lack of gold within the team potentially. But hopefully you still find it useful. Let me know in the comments down below who you think will get an upgrade, downgrade and so forth. Smash like always, sub to channel if you're new, and I'll catch you all later.